Good morning. Welcome to the Driller Newscast. I'm your host, Brock Yorty. This week in the news, we're going to hear responses over the Supreme Court ruling in West Virginia versus the Environmental Protection Agency. These rulings significantly changed how the EPA can take on environmental challenges. For our featured story of the week, we're going to have a great talk with Brian Snelten, NGWA president, about the industry, education, being an NGWA president, and being part of this great groundwater community. But before we get into this great content, let's talk some safety. For this week's safety topic, I want to discuss skin cancer and sunblock. Nearly 5 million Americans are treated for skin cancer each year in the United States. Over 2,000 of those individuals die from skin cancer. Men, women of the drilling industry, we're at increased risk of skin cancer because of the high levels of ultraviolet radiation exposure from the sun. And companies, owners, we need to remember the OSHA General Duty Clause that requires employers to do everything reasonably possible to address severe hazards in the workplace, even when OSHA sets no official standard on that matter. Doesn't mean we need to supply sunblock or extra measures, but we need to educate our teams. And when we can't be in the shade working, we need to understand that we need long sleeve shirts, long pants, a hard hat that's got an extra cover on it so that it can cover our neck and our ears, and then that sunscreen. Used to be SPF 15 was enough. Really, now we need to be SPF 30 or 50. When I jump on a job site, I use 50 and then I put 100 on my nose and my ears and the back of my neck, because I know some great men and women that have had a piece of their ear or nose or their back or their neck or have had complications. So these are the things we need to think about. On top of that, we need to understand that prescription medication can make us more susceptible to being burnt, and understanding how that impacts us. Talk to our doctors. And while we're having that discussion with our doctors, ask about that freckle or that mole. And let's be smart about this. I challenge you all in the month of July, go out, get checked. This is a big deal for our industry, and we need to take it more seriously like we do hydrating and understanding heat-related illnesses. Be safe. This week in the news, we're going to talk about the Supreme Court's ruling that happened on June 30th, just before they wrapped for the summer, which limited the Environmental Protection Agency's ability to regulate carbon emissions from power plants, making it much tougher for the U.S. to achieve goals of cutting greenhouse gas emissions in half by the end of the decade. EPA Administrator Michael S. Regan issued the following statement. As a public health agency, EPA's number one responsibility is to protect people's health, especially those who are on the front lines of environmental pollution. Make no mistake, we will never waver from that responsibility. While I'm deeply disappointed by the Supreme Court's decision, we are committed to using the full scope of the EPA's authority to protect communities and reduce the pollution that is driving climate change. We will move forward to provide certainty and transparency for the energy sector, which will support the industry's ongoing efforts to grow our clean energy economy. What this means right now is that it's going to be on our state's responsibilities to help with us getting to lower greenhouse emissions. And the United States Climate Alliance issued the following statement. We are deeply disappointed in the regressive decision, but it only hardens our resolve to act with the boldness and urgency the climate crisis demands. At a time when we are seeing devastating droughts, wildfires, and storms become the norm, the Supreme Court has sided with polluters at the expense of the American people. This was said by co-chair Governor Hochul of New York, Inslee of Washington, and Newsom of California, who have all done a great job at looking at climate change, what's going on, and working us towards net zero. This ruling makes clear that the actions of governors and states legislatures are more important than ever before. Thankfully, state authority to curb greenhouse gas emissions has not changed. Today, we reaffirm our commitment to decarbonizing the power sector using our authority at the state level. We will continue moving forward with bold climate action in the states to protect the health and the pocketbooks of the American people. There are 24 governors in the alliance who have pledged to collectively reduce greenhouse gas emissions by at least 26 to 28% below 2005 levels by 2025 and at least 50 to 52% below 2005 levels by 2030, and collectively achieve overall net zero greenhouse gas emissions as soon as possible and no later than 2050. There's 24 governors. That means we have 26 other governors we need to be talking to and we need to be advocating, because getting to net zero is very important for us in the water industry, not only in the energy industry. We need to continue to watch this. Next, we have the EPA and the waters of the United States in October, Sackett versus the EPA with the Supreme Court. We definitely need to know what's going on and being part of this. For this week's featured industry professional and featured story, I have the president, Brian Snelten of the National Groundwater Association, and I'm very excited to have him here. We're going to jump right into this interview. Brian, how did drilling get into your blood?
Hi, Brock. Thanks for having me on here. I'm excited about it. It's pretty simple. I was born with, as I say, mud in the blood. I'm fourth generation through my family's the residential contracting business, and was always fascinated how my dad could drill a hole in the ground and water would come out, and it fascinated me. So it started down my journey of understanding the ground and things like that. So I went to school. I got a degree in geology from Southern Illinois University. And then I joined the environmental consulting world for about 13 years on the advice of my dad to go to school, get an education, and not stand on the back of a drill rig. And I got an education, and I stood on the back of a test hole rig and logged soils and things like that. So I was still on the back of the rig. It bothered me that I wasn't actually pulling the levers anymore. But after 13 years of doing that, I kind of came back to my roots of drilling and joined Lane Christensen as a project manager, and I'm currently the area manager for the Aurora, Illinois office.
Very cool. So your father gave you the advice to go to college. We see this a lot in our industry right now, where we see, I want you to have a more important career, or I want you to do this, go out. My father said it to me. How do we change that message? You know, obviously degrees are important, but we need people in our industry. And
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's interesting. So in my travels this year as president of the NGWA, I got the pleasure to meet people in the state of Texas, Minnesota, Florida, obviously my home state of Illinois. And that was a major topic that came up, was how do we get people involved in our industry? How do I replace people? How do I keep my business going? And I think it really comes down to the point of us educating our younger kids in that middle school age to high school and let them know more about our industry. I think one of the great ways to do it, through our foundation, we have the Awesome Aquifer Kits, which teaches middle school, high school kids about groundwater, how it flows through the ground. It's not an underground river like John Oliver recently just had on his show, if anyone saw that. But it's a good way for us to get our kids involved and interested in this industry, and to let them know that there are plenty of jobs out there, and good paying jobs in this industry. So that's one of our focuses, even at NGWA, is education and early education. And then getting those kids excited about the industry and letting them know what's there, that they don't have to go and become a plumber or an electrician or something like that, but they can handle big equipment and do something which is very noble, which is supplying clean, safe drinking water to our nation.
That that's an excellent initiative, and just because you threw it out there, and I am a very big fan of Last Week Tonight. I believe the industry needs to go and actually watch the entire piece because it's very poignant. As of right now, and it's June 28th. There's 3 million views on his YouTube. Not to mention everybody that watched it that Sunday night and people who stream it. 15% of our population understands that they have a private well and that they are dependent on groundwater. But, as you watch that piece, everything else going on in the news, for them to take the time to say, holy cow, it's we need to talk about the Western drought right now, I think is a great focus. So, your water kits, how would people go about getting those?
You can go to awesomeaquifer.com or in through ngwa.org, and you can find through the foundation a way to get there. You can purchase the kits. They have sponsor a classroom. I think it's $500, and it gives the teacher a couple years of access to also the newer version, which is Awesome Aquifer 360, which is a virtual reality or virtual setting through the internet, to allow them to do that. And they get the kit so that in the classroom they can put their hands on it and actually see it. And, again, groundwater is something that we forget about all the time because we just assume it's there. And we notice when it's not there when we go to turn on the faucet and, uh-oh, I don't have water. That's when, if you have a residential system, that's when our contractors are getting phone calls because, oh boy, I don't have water. What am I going to do? And everyone panics. But we don't talk about it ahead of time. We're a reactive industry, and especially in the media and things like that, we always see the bad of it. But good news is not news that people really want to talk about. So to have that offensive and to get out there and talk to people, it's hard because we're, as contractors, we're doing things in the field, and we really don't have that time. But we have to learn to take that time and kind of pave that road ahead of us for the industry, and that's something we're encouraging a lot of contractors to do. Is you're the experts, get out in front of young kids. I went and talked to my daughter's class a couple of years ago. I still talk to that teacher. She's asked me to come back into the classroom because she found it so amazing, and the kids ask great questions. It's amazing the questions you get from a 10 to 15-year-old on the industry, and you're like, wow, I didn't think about that. And it's a humbling experience, but it's something that we need to do as an industry to help get that next generation of people coming into the industry.
Yeah, we need to grab them any way we can. So moving past that, your president, this is obviously an initiative that we all care about, but as coming in as president, now we're nearly 7 months into this, 8 months. What is your visions? What are your goals? What did you want to get accomplished? What have you gotten accomplished this year?
So that's a great question, and that was one of the things I got asked a lot in Groundwater Week last year was, what's your vision as a president? And coming out of 2 years of a pandemic where we really didn't get to see each other, and we were just kind of trying to sail the ship as we were building it almost because we were in unprecedented waters. It was almost wanting to get us back to a normal, and get our operations going again, and being able to go out and see people at trade shows and see our friends that we haven't seen in a while. So it was kind of, my goal there was to keep things normal and try to get them back that way. And then as we've kind of gone on through the year and I've gotten to talk to some people across the country, it was that education part. Finding out what do we got to do to get people into the industry interested. So we've had that big initiative at National Groundwater to get the Awesome Aquifer kits out, start talking about those. And we've started a new initiative that started last year with the drilling basics in a partnership with Oklahoma State University. to create a series of modules that could help train new people for our contractors, where they can put them in front of a computer. They could do a couple of days of training to show them basic safety on a drill rig, basic geology, teach them a little bit more about our industry that may help an owner get somebody up to speed a little bit more quickly. So that's kind of where my focus is changed this year, is now into that education and helping our contractors. And I think that initiative will carry on for some more years. But so it's been a fluid, no pun intended, a fluid dynamic here. And it's been a lot of fun. I've had a lot of great people that I've met. And it's part of that volunteering in our industry, to get out and meet people and make your small world a little bit bigger and understand what goes out around you, and not just focus in your little area.
So it's the second half of the year. What are your big plans as we lead back up to the national show?
So we just finished our mid-year meetings last week with the board. So my job as president kind of starts on the downward slope after that meeting, as we start to transition our president-elect Jason House in, who will be the second scientist to run the organization, which is another exciting thing. Jason will be a great president, very smart guy, good friend of mine. So I'm starting to work with him with transitioning him in, and just as we start to plan for Groundwater Week already in end of June here, we're already planning things for December in Las Vegas. So we're looking at having another great show. And I know you mentioned it on your newscast a couple weeks ago. IGSPA is going to be there this year. So we're excited about that. We're partnering with different organizations that utilize the same equipment that we use as contractors to diversify our business. So we're excited about that. We hope a lot of people come. Nashville was a huge turnout last year, just because it was the first time we were able to get back together. So we hope to continue that momentum going and get more people there. And like I said, you meet new people, start talking outside of your comfort zone. You might learn something new that you can bring back to your business. But then again, you can also gain a friend somewhere else in the country, and start talking to people again. It's exciting times.
Final question. You're a regional manager for one of the largest water drilling companies in the world, and you're national groundwater president. And I also know you're involved in your children's sports and stuff. How do you find the time, Brian?
That's a really good question. Yeah, you're right. I'm very passionate about this industry that has really given my family so much. Like I said, as a fourth generation contractor, we do our job, but I just have a passion for this industry, and I find the time. My kids understand that. They see the passion that I have for this. My wife does. They're huge supporters. I can't thank Lane enough for what they've allowed me to do in terms of volunteering. As you said, we are a very big company. We work all over the U.S., very dedicated to our employees and their safety. So it's a fun thing. And again, I appreciate all the help that they've allowed me to take time away from business to do that. Now I work a little extra at night, to catch back up on things. But again, it's a short period of time that I'm volunteering to do this. It's a very rewarding process. I encourage more people to get involved in their state and national level organizations. Like I said, you get that reward of talking to other people and helping. When I started in my state organization and became president of that, I also sit on our licensing board for our contracting license. So I do a lot, but again, it's giving back to what has given me so much and my family so much is so rewarding. And we need volunteers. We need people to get involved. And I encourage you to do so. A lot of people think it's a lot of time, but it's an hour here and there, and for the industry, it's well worth our time. I think that everyone should do it. So I really encourage a lot of people to get involved.
And I know as I've watched the board, from my periphery at the shows, and Jeff Williams and Dave
Yep.
Enrick and Alan Eads and all of these past presidents, you guys have this great like camaraderie and community, and you're always laughing and just enjoying yourself. And so I know it's an awesome community. You guys seem to be having a lot of fun.
We do. We actually do. I guess from the outside, and I've seen it before too, from myself, you sit there and start to wonder, that's a good old boys club. I can't get involved in that. They're not going to accept me. That's not true. We all have a passion for the industry. Some of us on the board are competitors, and there's a great story between Chauncey Leggett and John Boyette in North Carolina that are close competitors, but those two are the best friends, the closest best friends I've ever seen. And another example how they help each other and their competitors. Again, we all share the same passion for the industry. We welcome more people to get involved, and we want to make that circle better. And like I said, I've created these. You always hear it on stage. Oh, this person has become my friend, and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But it's so true. You spend a bunch of time with people. You get to learn about them. You find that you have the same interests. Merritt Partridge and I, past president, recent past president, him and I have been golfing across the country a couple times this year already with some other people that we've become friends with, and it's great to develop those new friendships and learn what other people do that you might be able to take something back to your business or vice versa. So it's a great time, and we generally enjoy getting back together with each other, and when we haven't seen each other in a year or half a year, and we do have a lot of fun. So again, we welcome you into the circle and want you to join and volunteer.
You know, I guess the perception could be a club. I've always seen it, and I've spent hours talking to plenty of past presidents and Jeff Williams often, and all I see are good men and women that are sharing knowledge and inspiring people. And it's one of those things. We thank you guys for taking your time and showing your passion. And we either encourage our industry or we watch, as we talked about from the news or from another large association that can have lots of lobbying dollars to determine how we pull water out of the Ogallala or something like that. So thank
Right.
you.
Yeah, no problem. And another good point too is we're starting to see more women get involved in the industry too, which is a great thing, and encourage more women to step up and be part of the organization, or any organization in the industry. But I'm very happy to see that part too.
It's I think about this a lot because I have a daughter and a son, a 6-year old daughter that I would love to have in this industry. And as I've talked with friends, they're like, yeah, she's going to be a great hydrogeologist or engineer. And, I want her to make that choice if she would like to be a
Yep.
driller or an owner or whatnot. But of the 7.6 million Americans that work in construction, and, we drill down into that, we're 1 or 0.5% of that workforce, you know, it's 94, 95% men. So,
It is.
it's from a proportional, but we have some amazing powerhouse ladies out there that are killing it in other
Yep.
aspects that make our industry, you know, possible. Kathy Butcher just retired with what, 50
Yep.
years with the
Yeah.
association. We
Yeah.
see these amazing marketers. My mom, without my mom, my father's company wouldn't have been what it
Yep.
was with her with the
Yep.
books and the marketing and whatnot. So I think they're just we're a hidden secret society that creates water coming out of the ground that we need to pull the curtain back. But then behind us, there's another curtain that we need to pull back. Generally, they're pointing a finger because we should be being smarter businessmen or doing something safer. when we pull that second curtain back. But they're there, and they're a much bigger piece of our industry than I think we think about as much as we should.
Absolutely, and just encouraging them to get involved and whatnot is another thing. But yeah, I've worked with a lot of great women in the industry. Tori Donnelly was on our board for a period of time, and she's amazing. Seth Kellogg's on the board right now with the Science and Engineers. She's also amazing. There's a lot of amazing women in this industry, and we need to do a better job of also recognizing the work that they do. So it's another step forward for the industry that we need to do, because like you said, there's so many people behind the scenes that are a true backbone of our industry that need all some recognition.
And from a geoscience standpoint, working with Western Michigan University's Hydro Field Camp, it's predominantly women that are in that
Yeah,
course. It's
yeah,
just the groundwater industry doesn't recruit and onboard as well as the geotechnical, the oil and gas, the mining, and so we have powerhouses out there that just we got to figure out how to have a better elevator pitch.
right, right. And I think too, again, like I said, we start working on, our junior high school level students, showing the industry, the jobs that are there. I think we're going to get more people involved. It's going to take some time, but it's something that we need to start working on now, to make that transition a little quicker. And I think we're on a good path to go that way.
I think NGWA is doing some great things from the, you know, school level all the way up to, the NGWA University, the T. Boone Pickens School of Geology.
Yep.
It's pretty cool to think that that's the involvement there. That's a great initiative. Well, excellent. Thanks, Brian, for contacting me and getting this ball rolling to come on. I was very excited when we talked, and I knew we could just have a driller to driller conversation on this industry. It is really um, awesome to hear your passion and everything you're driving, and we're all going to be excited to cheer for you at NGWA and toast your past president position and all of that.
Well, thanks, Brock. I appreciate that. Again, there's a lot of great people that work at volunteer on that board that do a lot of things that make the presidents look good and whatnot. So I have to acknowledge our board, which is amazing. The staff there, that's amazing. A lot of other people that do things that help me do those things. So I appreciate the kind words, and I'm very excited to be on this. That's why I reached out. I've listened to all of your newscasts, and what you're doing for the industry with this is amazing stuff. You're touching topics that need to be talked about and putting it out there in easy bites to listen to through the podcast while you're coming to or from a job site, or while you're on a break or something like that, or at night while you're just sitting at home. So I want to thank you for what you're doing for the industry, because I think it's amazing, and I hope you continue to do that.
Thank you. And again, I'm very humbled to know that you're participating and listening to the podcast. And I love the content that we're all creating, from what's coming out in the Groundwater Journal to the Driller magazine. It's we're a small industry, and it's very important for us to share as much as possible. So
Yep.
I appreciate you sharing, and you're right. Kudos to the board and your support staff, and yeah, you get all of that hard work, and you guys are always smiling and laughing and having fun. Maybe it's just December, and you're like, "Whoo, it's over, and it's almost Christmas."
Well, we use a tagline at NGWA, and it's "We're better together," and that's, it couldn't be any more true than that. Different organizations working together, different contractors working together, and we're all making each other better. We're making the industry better, and again, your newscast is part of that, and we're all better together for it. So thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you for joining us for episode 19 of the Driller Newscast. Continue to be following what's going on with the waters of the United States, the EPA, the Supreme Court, climate change, greenhouse gas, net zero. These are all very important. We'll see Sackett v. the EPA in October with the Supreme Court on a waters of the United States discussion. These are all very important topics that we need to be up to date and be able to speak to our friends, our customers, and the industry. Thank you, Brian Snelten, National Groundwater Association president, for coming on. It was a lot of fun to have a discussion with you. And there's actually some safety topics and other stuff we'll have to release at another time, since Brian and I geeked out and talked way too long. Finally, sunblock is another PPE that we need to have, that we're using regularly and protecting our people. Let's think about it. It's going to be hot. We're going to be in the sun. And skin cancer is something not to take lightly. Check out thedriller.com for all the great content, and have a great week.